Hey there, this is Jason, and I'm starting to work on a new mix for a group I'm in called Dolly Rocker, and just playing around with the drums right now, just at the very beginning. And I just thought I'd just make a quick little tutorial about a technique that I use a lot, which is messing around with the kick drum with samples. So that's a pretty common thing to do, but just one little twist in terms of messing around with the main body of the kick drum versus the attack. So here's the drums as they stand right now, just quickly just throwing up the faders. So that's just a really rough mix. They're not that great. And actually the kick drum, if you listen to it alone, it doesn't sound. Just not a fan of that sound, so decided to go with a sample of it. Just in Logic, you can easily go to track and then replace or double the kick track. I already did that, so I'm not gonna keep any of this stuff. I'll cancel that. So basically, it's pretty easy. If you need to learn how to do it, just you can. There's plenty of places online that'll show you. So basically, I just created this second track, or this sample track, and just used the default sound. It was an acoustic, the first acoustic kit in the EXS sampler, and that just sounds something like that. So that versus that. I mean, it's just a little more. It's obviously much more clean, and just it gives a nice sort of low end, kind of subtle thump that I really like in the mix. So I like that sound from the get go. The one thing I did do is just, if I bring up the EXS here, sampler, I did tweak the decay a little bit. So originally it was something a little more like this. So that low end was kind of ringing out quite a bit longer. So I brought it down to sort of tighten up the hit a little bit. Anyways, and by default, I mean the velocities were pretty low, and I kind of like how how it sounds living down here in the lower velocities, and also keeping the sort of the variation in the performance. You can hear the subtle bits of accents. I mean, definitely it adds a lot of life and keeps things sounding more real. But if for some reason I mean, if I were to bring these velocities, oops, I'm not going to do that. Let's see, undo that. If I were to bring all these velocities up, let's play that again. If I were to bring all these velocities up really high, obviously that just sounds lame because it's too strong for this song, and also just robs it of all the sort of the dynamic variation that you want to help give it life. So, anyways, I like that sound a lot, and ended up decided I wanted to use it. But then the one thing I like to do a lot is have a separate sort of a kick body track and then a kick attack. So I brought in, and I basically just copied that same track down to another software instrument track, and threw in an instance of battery, and threw in one of the collections of kicks from a company called That Sound. They make really fantastic drum samples with a lot of character. And honestly, like a lot of times I'll just use their samples alone, but for some reason in this song I just happened to hit upon this sound, and I just kind of liked the low, light, thumpy accent of it. So anyways, let's hear what this one sounds like, the That Sound sample. I mean, it's a great sounding kick sample, but it has a little more of a honestly has a little more of a kind of a hollowy kind of kick sound, which sounds a little more real in some ways. But again, I sort of like this original, just kind of subtler, thumpy sound. But I like the attack of the other one. So what I ended up doing, if you notice on this one, I brought up the velocities on all of these just so that we'd get a little more of a solid hit. And then within here, what I end up doing is I bring up battery, and let's see what, I think it's this, yep, it's Cutter Dry. So if I highlight that, and then I look down here, we can mess with the volume envelope, which basically just allows you to really shape the sound. So let's listen to this sound right now the way it is naturally. And then if I engage this volume envelope, I already made a few tweaks just to make it pretty much cuts out all the body of the sound, and you're just left with that attack at the very beginning. And it sounds very subtle, but what you can do then is, say we're just using the original sample that I had in there from EXS with the low thump. I've got that, but as soon as I add this in, suddenly you get a lot more definition and attack. And you can obviously, now that you have it on a separate channel, you can sort of, you can vary that level as much as you want. Perhaps even automate it, bring it up during choruses or something where you need a little more definition. But just having that separate attack kick sound is something that I've been, learned a long time ago, and I do it pretty much on every project. I usually have some sort of little, more of a ticky kind of sound on the attack that just sounds sort of dumb on its own, but then when you bring it in with the body, it just sort of helps get a little definition. So just a quick little peek behind the scenes here while we're getting started mixing this new Dolly Rocker tune. Yeah, hope you can, if you're into recording, you can put that to some use, or some variation of that.